Okay, we were middle Tosas, yes, we just started it. Name Atiknu Gemara Gitten, page Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. So Rashi explains that if it's a monetary document, we understand why you need a date to know exactly, from when did the lien, when was the debt. So therefore, the lien is directly connected to the debt. But a get is not a monetary document. So he explains Lomotzi Lememar. Just left off here. The tikinu uzman kedesh tucha lehotzi isha min abal mezono shelokho shelovso v'ochlo kodem zman hakosav beget. She needs the date on the get to prove that she was still married to her husband, which she borrowed to cover her support needs. She borrowed, love, right? Otherwise he could say, I divorced you, and it was after you were divorced he borrowed the money. Even if there wouldn't be that, a woman would be believed to say that what she was married when she borrowed the mother. Why? Or she would take the get, she would hide the get, and nobody knows that she was ever divorced. Believe me that the loan that I took to support myself was before I was divorced, because if she says, if I would want to be dishonest, I could have just put away the get and claim I'm still married to him. And therefore, and since we know that the loan took place prior to this moment, he has to cover that debt. We'll see in a moment. Lo sireno, and she's not going to present the get, make it known, until she's ready to get married. It was given presence of witnesses. Let's see, it didn't have a date on it. Did not have a date.
Witnesses.
So what? Witnesses don't remember. They don't remember. Witnesses don't remember. They don't remember. They maybe remember that they witnessed the get if they don't remember a date. Right?
Yeah, but if the witnesses were there, they remember giving a get. So there goes her amigu. Because they gave the get.
First, let's talk now. If you hold Eidi Chasim Akarsi, that you need no witnesses. The witnesses sign on the get, and then the get is given it's between the husband and the wife. Right? Right?
It's not given it for any...
No. Okay? I mean, there's a question. Tosas Dalit says, maybe even according to her mayor, because Ein Dov Sheber is Pochs Mishnayim, if you remember, Tosas made a differentiation. The two halachas. What gives the get its power to terminate the marriage? You have to have witnesses on the get. That is a separate halacha. Like at a marriage, you need witnesses witnessing the marriage. You need witnesses witnessing the transfer of the get to the wife. So even a mayor agrees that you need witnesses at the time of the transfer. Because Ein Dov Sheber Pochs Mishnayim. So the two separate issues. What gives the get its ability to terminate? That's Eidi Chasim according to her mayor. But the actual divorce procedure has to be done in front of witnesses. So you say, you have witnesses, but the woman, he has to locate the witnesses. It's not so simple to locate witnesses. If you have a document you want to substantiate a get, you can substantiate a get many ways. Either the original witnesses, a document which has similar signatures which was already substantiated, right? Or people recognizing the witness, those signatures. You have three ways. The people themselves, people recognizing, or comparing documents, comparing signatures. So whenever you don't always locate those witnesses. You don't. So therefore, okay? So she has a migu, so she won't show the get. 1 second. Yovi abal edi masiro. And so what's going to be? Listen. So what's going to be? Just the husband will bring the witnesses. Just to the contrary, he brings the witness. Then that'll prove her claim is correct. Because the witnesses, if they remember when the get was given, it was after she had borrowed. So it was after she'd borrowed. That means she was borrowing on behalf of the husband to cover the husband's financial obligation to her.
How is that?
Again, let's David's question. What about witnesses?
Right.
The witnesses themselves, what are they going to say? Let's say they will remember when the get was given. right? So if they remember when the get was given, then the woman has a basis for a claim. They'll say the get was given in a certain month, and we were able to prove that she could prove she borrowed at an earlier time, earlier month, an earlier year. So then the husband has to cover it. We're saying the reason why you need the date is because if there's no date, the husband will say that she borrowed after he divorced her. So he says, for that she has amigo. He says, what about if the husband brings witnesses? Just the contrary, the witnesses would support her claim.
Why would we think it's for her, not his claim?
Because the witnesses are going to tell. Well, the way he says, the witnesses will remember the date. Wait a second. The husband's going to bring witnesses. He doesn't know whether they remember. The presumption is he's going to be concerned they will remember the date. And if they will remember the date, then he's going to look bad before the court. Wait a second. He says beforish. Because the witness will the witnesses will know when the get was given. Wait. Stop. So we're saying Manav Shach. If he doesn't bring witnesses, she has amigo. Believe me that I'm telling you the truth, that I borrowed before I received the get, because I could have hidden the get, and I claim I was never divorced, and therefore he has to cover the debt. Right. So therefore, believe me that I'm honest by presenting myself not in such in a stronger position, because I could have presented myself in a strong position if I would have been dishonest. And if he should bring witnesses, he says the witnesses will remember the date, and if they say we remember when it was given, then.
But why would he bring those witnesses if it's going to prove him?
That's exactly what he's saying. That's what he's saying. So he's not going to bring the witnesses.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Manavshach. If the witness is available, he's not bringing the witnesses.
Exactly.
And if they're not available, she has amigo.
Fine.
So either way, so therefore that's not a sufficient reason why they should legislate an act that you have to have a date in a get. For all these reasons. Right. Now he says like this. We're saying she could hide the get and say she was never divorced. A man who says I divorced my wife, he's believed. Because it's biyodo. A man says I divorced my wife, he's believed from this moment going forward. Because at this moment he could actually issue a get and give it to her. But what about before this moment? It's not biyodo. It's not within his ability. Okay? So she claimed that she borrowed prior to this moment. So prior to this moment, what was she? She had a cheskes eishes. She was married to him. And he says, and even that, if the woman goes and counters his claim, he's what? He's not believed. He's still not believed. That's the Gemara of Basra. V'od. משום זאת לא יצריך לסגן זמן כמו שפרש הרב יוחנן מסומת אפילו אין בו זמן יכול איש לבקש עדים מסירו שעדים בפני בית דין או עדים שהיום נסגר שוב יכול לו שטר אחר. Okay? He says a woman, to cover herself, she could request of the court when she receives the get initially, even though there's no date in the get, to give her a document, a signed document to say when she was divorced. To protect herself, that if she has any financial claim against the husband, she'll be able to make the claim because she has that document attesting for when she received the get, date-wise. Why? Okay, Tomer. Now we ask an interesting question. What about a writ of emancipation, a get shichur? Does a get shichur need a date? We're saying, the Gemara says, the reason why we need a date in the get, we have machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan is b'shum bas achoso, because if a man's married to his niece, if she commits adultery, he'll cover for her. Or because, when does the husband forfeit his rights to the payers? Okay? So what about a get shichur? Writ of emancipation. He has nothing. So, but yet, there's a date in the get shichur. Well, why did they legislate a date in a get shichur? The writ of emancipation. V'mtoma get shichur and loma tikna bozman. Di mishum masu yodov. What about because as long as he's a slave, his handiwork, right? His earnings belong to the master. So as a result of having a date on the get shichur. Wait 1 second. Below zman nami yuchal lo lebez the yichtav below. Like we said earlier. With the woman, she goes to court. What does the debt have to be? if he's concerned that the master will claim that his earnings are the master's because he emancipated him later, he could ask for a document, a side document, just to the court should say you were emancipated on such and such a date. So if the master would come with such a claim, he presents the document.
So he has to go and do that after.
1 second. One second. Let's go. The Tiknus Man. Why did they legislate a date in the Shtar Shechrur? The Lo Havi Beizman Pom Mishoy Mocher Avdo. Here, because we're concerned. What happens? He sells a slave to a third party. Man sells a slave to a third party. Al Koselo get Shechrur below Zman. And then he gives the slave a written document of emancipation, and there's no date in it. Right? You have to prove that your purchase document preceded my writ of emancipation. He says, I was emancipated before I was sold. I mean, the first master never had a right to sell me. That's what he'll claim, the slave. But factually, if he was sold before, so then the second master would have no right to emancipate him. So to protect the second master, by having a date, we'll be able to understand that the first master have a right to sell him, did he not have a right to sell him. Okay? But otherwise, he'll claim that he says, because it's a motzkavel of a raya. ולוקח בו להוציא ממנו השיבוט, אבל הוכחה בעל מוחזק ולא אישו. Good.
Therefore, it's valid without a date.
There.
We have no way of knowing who he belongs. He has no being voice. No, unlike the get.
No, we're saying,
We need a date.
what happens if the first master gives him the get shichrur
Understand?
after he emancipates, after he sells him,
Yeah.
right?
But therefore, we would conclude that a get shifra would need a date, because we would have no other way of knowing whether he was freed or he was on at the date of sale. Unlike a get, there's no negoy available to the slave.
You know, the answer is a difficult answer. We're concerned, there's a concept known as kanunya. Two people,
What's the question?
I'll tell you, I just want to give you background, I appreciate the question. Sometimes there's this collusion between two people, and they do things, let's say between a husband and wife, because they want to collect from the lien properties, and they'll predate a document, and they'll divide when whatever the proceeds they have, illegal proceeds, they'll divide. We're saying a master will emancipate, he'll sell the slave, and after he sells him, he'll give him a writ of emancipation. Well, why should he do such a thing? Right? What does he have to gain? Of course, it's not effect. He's emancipating a slave that's not his slave, and so we're concerned that now the slave will take that document and present it to the master, to his master, who claims his master. My writ of emancipation preceded the sale. Therefore, you have no rights to me. Well, why should I suspect the first master should do such a thing? If he sold him, right? Well, why should suspect? First, he presents a cheskes kashrus. Secondly, what does he have to gain? What is the master? He's not saying because there'll be a kanunya here. After he sells him, he'll free him. Why would he free him? I mean, it's a dochik.
Then did he get back at the guy he saw it to? Or no, business, whatever.
But to come up to contrive some kind of, doesn't make any sense.
Why would we even ask?
There's no financial gain.
Kasha l'maisa, though.
What?
It's the kasha l'maisa.
What's the question? Well, the question is, why is there a date in the get shikhr? That's our question.
So that he'll...
What are we concerned? The master, after he sells him, will give him a get shikhr. Why should he give him a get shikhr after he sells him? It's no longer his.
He's saying it's such an unusual case that we wouldn't...
Why should he? He has nothing to gain. If you want to say he'll somehow claim he's still my slave, maybe. But get shikhr, he can't claim he's his slave. Right? He's a free man. Okay?
When do we apply the concept of kol we don't apply sometimes? As far as like...
I mean, kol. I mean, becomes public knowledge?
Yeah. When do we apply that, when do we not? Because it seems like sometimes we're saying it, sometimes we're not.
We'll see. We'll see it. We'll see it over here. Because that...
Do we require a date on the get shikhr?
Yes, we do.
We do, but we haven't got a basis.
So that was the question. Well, what's the basis? Paris has no relevance, Basachos has no relevance.
And our problem is that it's such an unlikely case, and yet we're still requiring the date.
Because of this issue, the first master may give him the writ after he sells him.
Which we think is unlikely.
Why should he? There's no reason to do it. Okay.
We don't require a date on the get of the woman.
We do require, but the Gemara gives reasons. Paris or znus.
Right, but if there wasn't,
We would not require.
we would not require a diabet because she
Not
has-
but if Ilchatchili wouldn't require it. There would be no reason to put a date. In a get shechur, in a get isha. Okay. Reish Lakish Mishum Paris, bottom Tosus. A lot of information here. Kedei shetedo isha mosai nichtav. That the woman should know when the get was written. V'nechtam. Lo sabsit Paris achas nasino. Okay? By the date, by the get being dated, written and signed, from that moment the husband has no right to the profits on her assets. So as a result of that, she could claim, right? She'll claim if the husband, let's say, sold them off, she actually could go after those, the profits that he took or the produce that he sold off. Vim Toimar, get. Right. Lo safsit peres achas nasino. We're saying now that from the time it's written and signed, no, lo safsit peres, she will not lose. You understand?
Oh,
Sh-
okay. So when
No.
written.
The other way, the husband has the peres the moment he marries her. After he consummates the marriage chuppah, he has the rights to the profits on her assets. Once he's determined that he's divorcing her, even though he didn't actually give her the get. That we said that was Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is achas nasino. He does not lose his rights until it's actually given. But Rish Lakish holds no. The moment it's signed, he loses the rights, even though she hasn't been divorced. So it's important. That's why you need a date, because once he's already shown his intention that the marriage is about to be terminated, we revoke his rights to her assets. That's Rish Lakish, right? It was an argument. That's the way Rabbi Rish Lakish learned the machlokas, the Tanakam Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, and is it shas ksiva or you need also chasima? Okay, Vim Tomar, get muchi yiposel na'itaimo. Let's say you have a post-dated get. Post-dated get. It should not be valid for this reason, according to Rish Lakish. Meaning, let's say today is January 1st, he writes January 15th. Right?
Today means the day that.
Not that he writes a future date, not today's date. So, and he has it written and signed with a future date. The halacha is it's a valid get.
At the future date.
Even though there's a future date.
So when is it valid then?
Well, we'll see in a moment. That's going to be Tosafos' answer. So seemingly he already showed his intent
Yeah.
that he's ready to divorce her,
Yeah.
right?
On the first. Yeah.
No. So that's he's going to answer, because since the date is a post date, if he gives it a get, it's not effective. The get cannot be effective until that date. That he put a later date to mean that when is the get going to be effective at the later date? The whole idea is if the date is today's date, since he's already created the instrument which could terminate the marriage at this moment, it's over. He loses all his rights.
Even though it's posted again.
No.
regular
Just
get.
a regular get.
Okay.
A regular get. Although he didn't divorce her, since he can divorce her, the moment it's signed and it's written and signed, he forfeits its rights.
Even though technically it's like the post.
Even though he didn't actually give it to her,
Exactly.
because he could give it to her at this moment, because the get itself has today's date on it.
You can't give a posted again.
We'll see. Per get poshet mukach the kosher, the omar get mukusher. Shekosvu eidov mitocho, kosher. Neshiyochel asosa poshut. The get mukusher is a certain kind of get which a Kohen writes. That means every line they write, they fold and they stitch. So normally the eidim are written on the back side of the get, but let's say they're written on the inside of the get. It's kosher. Why? Because it could be opened. Was yem ucher. The Bekusha min Hosom, Molach Shona, Mona Lo Shtayim. And they get Bekusha for some reason. When they write the date, they say they would write it according to the reign of a certain king. So let's say they would say he reigned 1 year. They say he reigned 2 years. Okay. Va'arshav yimnu mizman hakosbo kedin poshut shlo yedu chilosam kushoy. They're not going to know that originally it was written as a get mekusher. So really, it's a post-dated document. And the Gemara says it doesn't make a difference. It's valid because it's mucher, because it's a post-dated. So, but according to what we're saying now, the moment, what about according to Reish Lakish? When does he lose the proceeds of the assets? When it's completed, when it's signed, correct? So if he has, when it's signed, not before it's given. So that's the case. So why so post-dated get should not be valid? Because it's going to cause her to forfeit, to lose what's rightfully hers. Because it was signed earlier. It's only post-dated later. But if we would know when it actually was signed, he would lose his rights at that moment. That's Tos's position in the question. Because he's already stated his intention. Right? That's how Tos understands now. It's not based upon, because he could terminate at this moment with the document, but he's already gone to a point where he's stated his intention. He's launched his first salvo, so to say. Hazman. When does he forfeit his rights to the profits, to the proceeds? Not from when it's signed, but rather the date, from the time of the date in the document. Why? They roy legarishbo afil nosel alter. Because again, if he has it written and signed and the date is today's date, if he chooses, he'd give it the get at this moment. So for all intents and purposes, he's already ready to go. He's ready to terminate the marriage. But if it's a future date, where even if he says, even if you give it to her, it would not be effective because it's a post date, therefore he hasn't declared, he hasn't created the instrument that the marriage is imminent to be terminated. When would, even if he gives it a get, when would the get become effective? At that date. It's like I'm divorcing you after 30 days.
Give her a get like that? Post dated, he said, no, give you a get that will take effect.
He doesn't have to even say it. The date.
Avol
nichta b'yom. Wait a second. What doesn't make sense?
Not a valid get when he gives it to her. I mean,
So is that? What about you give a get that should be chal and shloshim yom? It's valid. So this is the same thing.
That works out.
1 second. Avol nichta b'yom le Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon says in the Mishnah, if it's written during daytime, it's signed the following night. So the date is the previous day, and the Eidim are the next day. Roy legarshbo miyad. That get, according to Reb Shimon, is actually a viable get. He could terminate marriage immediately. Why? Afa pi shlo nechtem al Eidim Mesiro. Api shlo nechtem al Yidei Eidim Mesiro. The Reb Shimon Sovka Reb Lozer Eidim Mesiro Karsi. Reb Shimon's of the opinion, he concurs with Reb Lozer, that what gives the get its force, its viability, it only has to be witnessed. So basically, when he wrote the get, even before the signatures were inserted on the document, this was an instrument to terminate the marriage. That's sufficient, correct? We're saying, when does he lose his rights to the profits, to the proceeds? The moment he's created the instrument to terminate the marriage. Right. And if he could do it immediately, right. So according, if you say Edi Chasima Karsi, that you have to Edi Chasimo, so he didn't create the object, the instrument of termination yet.
Chasima, when is it signed?
If it's signed, let's say the following night.
Okay.
It's signed for, then he has the right, but if you go based on the date, he's going to take a loss.
Because he wrote it on the day
because
before.
when they look at that document, the date is the previous date, right? But according to Reb Shimon, so therefore the Chacham is saying in the Mishnah, it's possible.
Here, Reb Shimon says it's kosher.
Why is it kosher? Because Reb Shimon says you don't need Eidi Chasima.
Eidi Chasima.
You don't need, it does not be signed. Let's say there are no witnesses. It just has to be given the presence of witnesses.
Right.
So when it's written alone, that writing, that text is enough to terminate the marriage at that moment. So we're saying when he's already made the declaration, I'm ready to terminate the marriage, he loses his rights.
Reb Shimon would agree with that?
That's Reb Shimon.
So Reb Shimon's going to go after the...
Eidi Mesira, after Ksiva.
With regard to payrolls, Reb Shimon agreed that whenever it was written earlier, he would lose the right as well.
then. It was written. Let's say there were no Eidim. Let's say there were no Eidim to get, according to Reb Shimon, at all. Is the get a valid get? Okay, so now that it was signed the next day, why should that invalidate it? If without Eidei Chasim, it's a viable get, so why, by inserting the witnesses the following night, why should that somehow invalidate the get? It's because at that moment, he's already created an instrument to terminate the marriage. Therefore we strip his rights. Okay? 1 second. So what does Tanakam hold? The Rishim Sovala Korebelos, the Edim Sira Kaskin, I mean Perkamo, or the Rabbon on Alpha Gav the Royal Karishbo. According to the Chachamim, they also, even you could say the Chachamim agree. It's Royal Karishbo because Edim Sira cave on the Lekon Nami cold in a Baal Mafsed Peros that we can see later. Because word hasn't yet gotten out in the community, even though he's created it. Once word gets out in the community that he's ready to end the marriage, then what? So it's a combination of both. Word's out, and he's created a document that could terminate the marriage.
Then word is out.
When you have the Eidei Chasima, that's word's out. The Eidei Chasima caused that the word should get out.
Not when he writes.
The writing alone is not enough, right? Avol k'shasukam b'osa inyan. Yesh kol v'roy legarish bo mafsir abal peros b'shas ksiv k'dam l'kamon. The Gemara says later, let's say they write the get, and the hour's running late, and they go into the nighttime. The Gemara will say later, it's valid. Why is it valid? Because since they were osukam bosin, they were about to sign it, the clock was running late. So since everything was in place to bring that about, word gets out. So since there's already a call after the ksiva, even the Chacham agree that what? That he loses the
Because they were still all sick, they were still doing it.
Asuk Mosinyan, they were involved. It's
So
not
it
we
wasn't
wrote
like-
it and we're going to call the
It
Eidim.
took 24 hours to do it.
The Weidim were waiting to sign. We're speaking, the Gemara says on Yudches, the Weidim are waiting to sign the witnesses, and because for some reason there was a delay, but since everything was ready to go, that's enough to create the rumor that word gets out in the community. So once word gets out in the community that he's ready to terminate the marriage, that's enough for him to forfeit his rights
So
to.
Chacham would say it's kosher too then.
Then it would be, in that case, it would be kosher.
So the way that Rishon learns Reish Lakish, there isn't parity between the husband and the wife, meaning that a man goes to...
Not Reish Lakish learns Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon's the Tan in the Mishnah.
Okay, so the way Reish Lakish is learning is that a man goes to a sofer, has a get written. At that point, the woman could go borrow as much as she possibly wants, and then the husband can't use her payrolls to pay back her debt. Is that the scenario that we're creating?
Definitely, yeah.
So
Well, if
she
the
hears the
husband's
correct.
obligated, well, she can't borrow unless he's obligated to support her. If I'm obligated to support you for a week and you want to borrow enough money that you can support yourself for a year, he's no obligation to pay that debt. We're speaking about when she borrows the amount that he's obligated for his outlay.
So it's a defined amount. How much
Of
you
course, it's
borrow.
defined. Of course, she can't borrow as much as she wants. A husband has to give his wife up to a certain point.
still married.
Provide clothes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, but he's losing all access. to
Doesn't make a
care.
difference.
matter.
Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference.
That's
The obligation to support a wife is independent of anything. That's a Torah obligation, right? Sheksus v'ona. Torah says that's the obligation a husband has to a wife.
Okay. So it's
He
limited
didn't
to
mean-
she could only borrow as much as she needs to eat.
As much as he's obligated to give her. Beyond that, that's her own debt. That's not his debt. That's her debt. Okay. Now the kosher luri. So what do we say now? According to Reb Shimon, because the get is ready to go, you don't need a coal. That's enough reason for him to forfeit the payers. According to Chachamim, word has to get out in the community. So therefore, either you have Eidim or Asuk Mos Inyan. So now we ask the question: Kosher Luri, Doma L'Kamon, Oma L'Asoro. The Gemara says later. Person says to Tempi, Kisu get lishti. He instructs 10 people, I want you to write a get for my wife. V'chosim beitrei minayu. Biomin. On that day that he instructs him, on that day only 2 of the 10 sign on the get. Ve'enoch v'kan v'asori yomi. And the subsequent witnesses, over a 10-day period, they all sign on the document. So 2 immediately. The Reish Lakish on Mekula Mishamedim. So Reish Lakish says that all the witnesses, all the 10, assume the status of witnesses, uposul.
Even though two are
Wait. Julia, that's Tos's question. And it's posul. Why is it posul? Because this, according to the Tanna comment, is like nechta b'yom, v'nechta b'layla. Because since the witnesses, the get only assumed its viability after all 10, therefore, the husband's going to lose his rights. So, Vamai, Hareyesh Kol, word gets out. It was saying if two people sign, witnesses create Kol. And according to the Chacham, that's enough reason for him to forfeit the payros. So, Varei Roy Lagarishbo, he asks two things. Hareyeshbo Kol, Varei Roy Lagarishbo. And also, you're able to use the get to divorce her. Once you have two witnesses in the document, you don't need all 10. It was his choice. The Yavsit Paris, Mishachos Rishonim. When the first two signed, he should forfeit his rights. The Ekosh Lagarishbo. So why does Reish Lakish say we invalidate it because it's the equivalent of being written on one day and signed on another day? Since on the day that it was they received their instruction, 2 of the 10 signed, and you have the call, and if he would want to use this document, he can. That should be enough reason for him to forfeit the payros.
Unless he holds that this Tanai is.
Wait, so Tos's answer is very simple. What creates the rumor? We're about to conclude, to create the document that will terminate the marriage. Witnesses are ready to sign, the clock is running late. The husband wants the document to be concluded before sundown. It's running late. That means he wants to get as soon as possible. When he says 10 people should sign, he says, you know something? Whenever they sign, that's when it's going to happen. So therefore, it's not imminent. Even though, of course, he could have said 2 is sufficient, but he said 10. So therefore, it doesn't create the call.
But the facts on the ground.
1 second. Ain't call achiyachtu kulam. No. The call is the room. What do people say? It's what people say. People only say what's happening.
You mean, in other words, people say when it's done.
When it's done.
Yeah.
Or about to be done. About to be done. About to be done. Right? But since over here he left it open. Whenever the 10 sign, whenever they conclude sign, that's when it's going to be.
Even though when 2 witnesses sign a document, it's a valid document in most cases.
That's just Oshi Yasukim Lachto. They're about to sign, clock's running late. But if it was up to the husband, he wanted to sign immediately. So there he's clearly declared his intention, he forfeits his rights. I mean, why should we give him rights if he's about to divorce her? The similar Gemara says in Nedarim that a person has in mind to divorce his wife, and he didn't tell her yet, and he continues to have sexual relations with her. The children that are, firstly, it's something which is inappropriate. I mean, how do you deceive the woman? She believes that there's a relationship, and the husband has intent to terminate the marriage. Not only that, if a child is conceived from that marriage, the child, to a certain degree, is considered damaged. It's damaged on a spiritual level because of the dishonesty of the husband. It's the same idea. We're going to give you rights in her assets when you're going to put her out the door at this moment. We're about at this moment. So we strip you of your rights. Okay, we withdraw it.
Just to that point I was saying before, at this point he's still required to support her. So why can he use her fruits to support her?
Because that's not why the fruits are given to him.
Why is it?
It's other thing, because if she's taken captive, he has to ransom her and all these other things.
It's not about
right.
He has to give her something.
No. The Torah obligates him to give. That's just independent of anything.
But the Torah also gives some assets to this.
No, it's rabbinical. This is rabbinical.
Is
rabbinical. On Torah level, he gets nothing. He has no rights to her assets.
Okay. How would Chacham hold it? 10 people then? How would they hold it?
Same idea. Same thing.
So they would hold
Definitely they'd hold this way.
that.
Definitely.
You have to continue.
To be.
Somebody